So towards Christmas, I'm definitely going to be doing a video on what young English talent there is coming through the Premiership that's looking good. And we all know that one big area of weakness for England is in the propping stakes, particularly tight head prop. But I am seeing things coming through from the RFU of them trying to address that problem, certain development camps for props, appointing specialist coaches to develop props in the pathway. But I think there's another big area of weakness for England, and that is the 12s coming through, those inside centres coming through that are going to be senior England players of the future. I think it's a big hole. But also I think I've identified a particular area as to why there is that big hole there. So let's get into it. It's an observation I've been sitting on for quite a while now, and this is a good time to bring it up, and also I'd love to know your response to it. Now, if we're honest, I don't think England have produced a world-class inside centre probably since the combination of Tyndall and Greenwood, or Greenwood and Tyndall. They swapped around a fair bit depending on what role they were playing in the game at the time. I mean, Brad Barrett was a very solid customer, good defender, but a bit of a wobbly pass on him. They try to shoehorn certain players in. Tuolangi prefers to play 13, although he can play 12. They even tried to shoehorn in Sam Burgess to play 12. So England have had a problem with 12 for a while. They've had good players, but if we look at the best players in the world at the moment from the World Cup, say, who are they? Well, they are power players with skill as well, don't get me wrong, but first and foremost, these guys can bust tackles, they can get over gain line, they can create something from nothing. I mean, power athletes like Bundyaki is on fire. Damien Diolande has been so key for South Africa at 12, and they've got Andre Esterhuizen there as well. Jonathan Dante has completely transformed France with his power game. Geordie Barrett's a high-skill player, but he's a big dude who can bust tackles. Karevi in his prime was absolutely unplayable. Jamie Roberts, even if you go back to then, for Wales, he was so key to their rise. So these dominant Big 12s are the main players at the moment. And again, the simple fact is no 12s in the English game possess that sort of power at the moment. If you look at the English Premiership, certainly Premiership sides bring in South Africans or Pacific Island players to fill that role. So I think a big question is that just bad luck, or do we not just produce those sorts of athletes? Well, I think the answer to that is no. I mean, look at Sam Simmons and Ben Earl. Perfect builds and athletic abilities to be international world-class 12s, and they've either chosen back row or been steered to back row through the age groups, and fair play to them, amazing players. I think Sam Simmons had the choice between playing in the backs or the back row, and he went with the back row. And why wouldn't you? I mean, the back row, as you guys will know who play the game, is the most exciting position potentially on the pitch, especially for a youngster. Just action all the time. So given the choice between certain positions, people often pick back row. I mean, how many hookers out there would love to play back row, really? A good case in point is Alfie Barberi. In the England age groups, they were pretty desperate for him to play hooker because, my God, he could be the next Malcolm Marks if his technicals in hooker position were spot on. But his heart was in the back row, and again, fair play, he's gone for it as a number 8. Let's see if he makes it. But trying to steer players into positions of need is the role of the RFU. Now, my hunch is the RFU were influenced by players like Owen Farrell playing 12 or Matt Gitu playing outside Johnny Wilkinson, and they saw the ball moving around and they thought, let's get ahead of the curve and develop these players at 12 who can move the ball, and if they're big and powerful, great, but let's not pick on that. And if we look at the England under-20s team going back, say, 5 years or more, we can see the trend, a very clear trend that I don't think is just chance. And let me say, these players are fine players. I watched them all play in under-20s and they played really well. It's just they're not power players, or there's not that power option to choose from. In 2023, we saw Joe Woodward play and he could well come through. He's a really good player, 10/12, pretty chunky as well, but probably not an out-and-out power player, but time will tell for him. 2022, we saw Ethan Grayson play, son of Paul, a brother of James, and he's a fine player as well, but you wouldn't say he's a power centre, a really good centre, ex-Northampton. I think he's playing for Bedford now. Go back another year, you've got Dan Lancaster, yes, son of Stuart, a definite 10 playing 12, brilliant ball player, but not a massive gain line player, of course, because he's a 10 playing 12, great player again, playing for Ealing Trailfinders at the moment, I think. Then if you go back another year, you've got Max Ajomu. What a good player he is, playing for Bath, and he could be England's future 12. But he's a ball-playing 12, a very jinky 12. I mean, he's powerful but not massively huge, and he could be 12 with maybe Ollie Lawrence 13. That's absolutely fine. I wish him well. But again, they played a ball-playing player at 12, and then go back 2019, Tom Hardwick, who's kind of a 10 playing 12, formerly of Leicester. Go back another year, and who have you got? Well, you've got Cam Redpath. Definitely a ball-playing 12, and indeed Scotland said, we'll have him, thank you very much. England were a bit slow off the blocks there, or in fact I think they tried to pick him but he got injured. But again, the trend is so clear. Cam Redpath, definitely not a massive 12 but a brilliant ball-playing 12. So throughout the years, I don't think this is chance. They are trying to develop ball-playing 12s, 10s who can play 12 to move that ball around, and left the English system bereft of those power players, and maybe they've gone to other positions like wing or like back row. So what do you think? Is this actually just happenstance, just chance, or is it a clear trend? I think it's pretty damn clear to me. In fact, the most physical 12 going back for the under-20s was actually Johnny Williams, and now Wales have him, although he's not absolutely massive, but he's definitely the most physical of those ones I've said. And no surprise, look at the players now playing in the Premiership, English qualified, young players who could play 12. Max Ajomo again, I'd like to see him play there, but not a power guy. Fraser Dingwall of Northampton is a brilliant player. Goodness me, he's good at absolutely everything. He's just not massive. If he doesn't break through for England, it's probably because he's just not that physical monster, but what a great player. Absolutely love him. And if England said, let's build a team around Fraser Dingwall in the centres, great, let's go for it. But again, not a Manu Tuilagi type player. Maybe the closest thing we have to a power inside centre coming through is Lennox Anianwu of Harlequins, but maybe not massive, but again, a very good player. Do we see big centres? Yes, we do, but it does look like maybe they're being pushed to the 13 slot, maybe copying that Farrell and Tuilagi role. Massey White, Tom Litchfield playing 13, so some bigger 13s, but it's not the options at 12 that the other players have, you know, that big 12 and that all-rounder 13 like the Aki Ringrose partnership, Deolanda Yam, Dante Fiku that seem to be working at the moment. So ultimately, all those years' development maybe has been wasted, or maybe it just hasn't given the range of options that we need. Indeed, no one really, apart from Owen Farrell at 12, has broken through into that inside centre position. So I don't know if anyone else has been talking about this, but I think it's a clear trend, and the evidence shows it's something that was deliberate. They backed a horse, it was probably the wrong horse. Now they're just going to have to go with it and do their best. Like I said, all the players I mentioned, fine players, but we are seriously lacking power 12s, and I think that is the reason, not the fact that England doesn't have power athletes. Anyway, let me know if you think I'm onto something. Pop all those comments below. Subscribe if you like these sorts of videos, and I'll catch you next time.